Jesus on the cross. Those who hated Jesus were very cruel to him. People said he was King of the Jews, but now he was going to be killed. The soldiers of Pilate took him away. Then they took off his clothes and dressed him in the cloak of a king. Kings used to carry a rod in their hands. The soldiers beat Jesus on the head with a rod before putting it into his hand. Kings wore crowns on their heads. The soldiers made a crown for Jesus, but it was a crown twisted out of twigs filled with thorns. They pushed it into his head. They spat at him and beat him, and then made fun of him by bowing down before him and saying, "We are your servants, King of the Jews." Pontius Pilate didn't like this. He went out once again to the crowd and shouted to them, "Watch, I'm going to bring you the man who has done nothing wrong, so far as I can see." Then he brought Jesus out to them, in the cloak of a king and with crown of thorns on his head. "Look at the man," said Pontius Pilate. But the crowd, led by Jesus' enemies, shouted louder and louder, "Crucify him!" Pontius Pilate was very frightened now. He said to Jesus, "I want to know where you come from." When Jesus wouldn't speak to him, Pontius Pilate said, "You know I can do anything to you." Jesus replied, "You can't do anything unless my heavenly Father gives you the power to do it." The crowd outside was shouting more and more, and Pontius Pilate gave in. Jesus was led off to be crucified. He was so tired by now that he could not carry the cross on which he was to be nailed. The soldiers found a man called Simon, who had come to Jerusalem, and made him follow Jesus carrying the cross. At Golgotha, outside Jerusalem, the soldiers guarding Jesus took off his clothes. Usually the soldiers divided the clothes of people they crucified among themselves. Jesus was wearing a cloak that was all in one piece. Instead of cutting it up, the soldiers played a game, and the winner took Jesus' cloak. They nailed Jesus to the cross through his hands and his feet, and raised it up high and stuck it in the ground. On the cross was written, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." Pontius Pilate had written this. Jesus' enemies wanted him to change what he'd written to, "This man said he was King of the Jews." But Pontius Pilate wouldn't. On either side of Jesus, 2 robbers were crucified. Some of the people watching now made fun of him. He used to help other people, they laughed, but he can't help himself now. Even one of the crucified robbers made fun of him, but the other one stopped him. "Jesus has done nothing wrong," he said. Then this robber asked Jesus to help him when he died. Jesus said, "We'll be in heaven together this day." Jesus began to sing to himself one of the old songs of the Jews, the one beginning, my God, why have you left me all alone?" Near the cross stood Mary, his mother's sister, and some of his other friends. He looked down at his mother. He told her that one of the men standing by would now look after her as if he were her own son. Then Jesus said, "I'm thirsty," and a soldier held up a sponge which was dipped in sour wine on the end of a spear. Jesus was now nearly dead. He said, "It is all finished, Father. I put my life in your hands." And then Jesus died. The chief guards had seen everything that had happened and said, "This must have been the Son of God." To make sure Jesus was dead, a soldier pushed a spear into his side. Then they took him down from the cross. One of Jesus' followers asked, "Please, can I take this man and put him in a burial grave?" Pilate agreed, and Jesus' body was taken down from the cross. It was placed in its tomb, which was new, and a great big stone was placed over it, over the entrance.